The land question is such an important question, and when you think about it, it's been 30 years since 1994.
The first, of course, question that we would have to ask is, what were they doing here in the first place?
You could simply see workers, you could simply see, violence, but this is linked to the meaning of land.
We have to think of land as living, as dynamic, as having a life of its own.
So how do you relate to your environment? We relate to our environment because we are built up of the elements.
Your footprint stays minimal, so land becomes extremely important, and access to that land becomes extremely important. So the moment you cut off that access, then you start seeing a crisis in that person's humanity.
Ability to be able to reconnect with nature. You are stripping us of our the potency of our healing.
Right. The violence of dispossession is a violence that does not see any possibility of resistance in the future. By not being safe anywhere, right, is what dispossession intends to do, so that you don't have a positive reference as an individual, a positive reference as a collective.
The violation could have disempowered us. But also, nathi uma ngabe sithi sifuna umhlaba wethu, we shouldn't be fighting it economically or politically. We should be fighting it spiritually.
The heart of a lot of the experience of Black South Africans is dispossession, and are the kind of knock-on impacts of that. So we pull it apart as in it's the inadequate health system, it's a question of access to justice, but we're not talking about these things by steeping them in the root, steeping them in the
uphuhlisa umthetho wakhona fanele usuke phi? Fanele usuke kuhulumente nobaba fanele usuke ebantwini, hayi umgodi exholobeni. Sithi asiwudingi, asifune ukuxhamla kuba akho nto sizayixhamla.
Kodwa entembeni asinayo indawo yemali ngoba intembeni is rich. Bahambe befaka imali ke kubantu ukuthi abantu bavume emayini. Bangidubula baqala ngami nje ukungidubula, waqhamuka umfana nje wakhona endaweni wangitshela ukuthi baba uyazi ukuthi namhlanje uzoba isilima.
Siyona akhange ibe kwicala labantu. Iye yaba kwicala le mining. Lonto ke yacaca mhlophe ukuthi into bana shuthi inkosi ezi asisenazo. Sesinoso business. Xa into ethinta umhlaba ngowabantu. Umhlaba ayingowankosi.
In 30 years, the budget for land reform has never been above 1%.
So my issue with our leaders is that they are leaving their spiritual communal responsibility selves at the door.
There's been much consideration given to just how deep the wound of dispossession actually is, right? If you're willing to use what is effectively a national wound as almost kind of a cheap tool to bring and rally support, I think it says quite a lot about how you think about that national wound. What the GNU needs to first do is develop a somewhat coherent and unified position on land. I must confess, I'm not sure how they're going to do that. Are they going to?
Politicians are not quite convinced that this is the path that we need to take.